my seating. Hello. Who's rocked in? PBR and Musical Aviator. Good evening to you. Musical Aviator. I have to fill in a self-performance development review thing for work. Oh my God, that whole performance review thing at work is such shit. One of the best things about being a contractor is not having to do that. Only permanents have to do that. Hate that shit. It's either like, it makes you really self-conscious, or there's someone really shitty you have to answer to who uses performance review as a revenge tool against you. There's all this bullshit in corporate world about, we do it together, and everyone improves. It's like, no one likes it. It's awful. It's uncomfortable. And like I said, way too often it's used as a form of punishment by shitty managers. Not a fan of it at all. Not one little bit. But that's the way things go in corporate world quite often. Now, I don't know if AIDzee's going to join us. I did get a text from him earlier today that said he wanted to, and then that was the last I heard of him. He tends to go a bit radio silent, quite honestly. Hi, Miss Foxification. How are you? PBR, having the Indian food, lamb rogan, Josh. Oh, you do it like it hot. You think it's going to be hot on the way out. I do remember years ago, a guy used to hang out at YouTube things. It was his idea to do like this challenge video that, well, I certainly hadn't challenged him to. I don't know if anyone had, but it was to drink the hottest hot sauce they have at was it Nando's, because they have a few grades of hot sauce, and bought this little bottle of it, and he's like necking it, and he drank quite a bit. It almost made him throw up, but he lived. And then I got texts from him 6 hours later, which was along the lines of, "It burns on the way out." Like, oh, yikes! That is not good. That is not good at all. But it's yeah. I'm not really a hot food person. I like mildly hot things. I like Mexican food, and I like Indian food, and I like Thai food, which is notoriously hot, but I don't go for the really hot variations of those things. Like, there are people who seem to want to punish themselves by eating the hottest thing they can, and that's just never been my thing. I've occasionally eaten things that were hotter than my comfort threshold and survived, but I don't chase it. Oh, geez, PBR, you had a bar bet that you couldn't scull a whole jar of Tabasco. That's a very pub sort of bet, that one, quite honestly. Yes, Mr. Foxification, eating very, very hot things or drinking hot sauce. Yes, just like Brexit. Might have seemed like a good idea, but you will be left with regret and possibly serious health complications. And hello, Safa. Nice to see you. It's happening world we're in. So I'm just realizing it's only a week until VidCon's on in Melbourne. And I'm remarkably unenthused. I'm more than slightly surprised they came back this year, because I don't want to be too much of a Debbie Downer, but I feel like they have to be disappointed with the numbers from the first 2 years. I was particularly surprised that year 2 wasn't a big step up from year 1. That surprised me quite a bit because I thought after an initial, ordinary start. Although I think they did. I don't see. I might just be completely wrong because I think they sold out the tickets the first year, maybe even the second year. I don't know, but I expected the second year to be so much bigger than the first year, and it wasn't. And it was a very long time before they announced the dates for YouTube Australia this year. Like, I think they only announced the dates 3-4 months ago. So, 8 months passed by without them confirming any dates. And I was quite prepared for them to say they weren't going to do it. Speaking as someone who's tried to organize events that require people to buy tickets, it's super fucking hard for these convention type events. But, and I'm speaking a bit from the outside because I don't know any detail, I know a couple of YouTubers have done tours, like stage shows in Australia, and I think they've done quite well. Like, they've just focused on their specific fan base, and it was an evening with whoever it might be, and I think they did quite well. Like, I think they sold out their shows. But yeah, it is a very tough sell getting people to buy tickets for things like PBR. Besides mine, who do I think is the best Aussie YouTube channel? Kind of depends what you want, I guess. There's different channels. I'm actually really shit at this sort of thing, saying who's the best at things. I mean, there are different channels who do quite well at different things. Like, there's a bunch of good cooking channels. There's a couple of good lifestyle, vlogger channels. Who's the most popular? Actually, that's a fun thing. Who is the most subscribed Australian YouTube channel? What are the most popular YouTube? There you go. Social Blade. How to Basics, still number 1. Wow, 13.6 million. You go. How to Basics held the top spot for so long. And then we just get to a bunch of channels that I know nothing about. Kids Toy Channel, they always do well. Almost as many subs as How To. Lachlan, I have no idea what that is. Laserbeam looks like a gaming channel. Never heard of him. 11.5 million subscribers. Never heard of them. Bounce Patrol Kids, another kids one, 10 million. Primitive Technology, 10 million. Muse Elk, 8 million. Troy Sivan, 7 million. Another toy channel, 6.5 million. 5 Seconds of Summer, 6.5 million. Yeah, Planet Dolan, I know those guys. They're 6 million. Raka Raka, if you like really bad taste but funny effect, sort of violent spoof videos, Raka Raka, Ribka Twins, how ridiculous. I don't know. Fits. Oh, yeah, there's another one. I know, Jazza, Draw with Jazza, 5 million subs. Yeah, so, there's a little bit of everything in there. PPR, Greg's Kitchen. Does Greg still make videos? He was into it at one point. See, I'm shit at keeping up with channels. Like every now and then someone goes, I used to watch your videos and haven't been keeping up. Sorry. Yeah, don't be sorry. I completely understand not keeping up with watching particular things. As long you don't owe me anything in particular. The the nature of the world is, sometimes you watch things, sometimes you like Racker's Ronald McDonald stuff. That was their Ronald McDonald videos were some sick, fucked up stuff. And I say that with a tone of admiration in my voice. Yes, and I have actually met them, and they're pretty funny. They're very, very weird guys. But it's kind of funny because they were doing practical effects. Like they had some work in TV or film or whatever. They were doing practical effects, and they just started mucking around on YouTube, and they got quite popular, of course, because their videos are not exactly family friendly, because they tend to have a lot of violence and swearing in them. So I think they mostly get demonetized, and the algorithm punishes them these days. But they persevere. Hi, Justin. How are you going? Safa had a beer today. Good for you. If one wants a beer, one should go for a beer. I'm like I said, it's a Thursday night. I'll probably do a second half cocktail, as I am wont to do. I was just interested. What are the view counts on Raka these days? Because now that I've looked up, they've got like 5.5 million subscribers. And some of their videos have way more views now. So it looks like it's a vlog type video, 500,000, 1 million, a diss track, 500,000, 2.5 million for, I don't know who Riley Reid is, but there's a diss track got 2.5 million views. So this is the thing. This is what frustrates big creators like Raka are a big creator. They got over 5.5 million subscribers, and their videos are quite involved, and they can be quite expensive to make. And I mean, lots of people, including me, would kill for the level of success they have. Like they've got a lot of videos just in the last 6 months that have million or multiple million views. But they got 5.5 million subscribers, yet they have videos that are only reaching in the hundreds of thousands. And this is the thing. It's really common for even very big YouTubers to have their videos only reach 5 to 10% of their subscribers, because of the way YouTube changed things. Oh, okay, PBR, thank you. Riley Reid is a porn star. I feel somewhat remiss for not keeping up with who is the porn star du jour. Is she Australian? I don't know, because I don't even know if Raka are still in Australia, because they do travel a bit. I know they were friends with Logan Paul, and they've hung out at Logan Paul's house and whatnot. So I don't even know if they're still in Australia or they're in the US or what they're doing. It's complicated, I guess. But yeah, see, I ceased even trying on YouTube years ago. Just doing it for fun now. I'm super shitty at promotion. B, I'll be absolutely honest. I should put more effort into my videos, but you know, I don't feel like killing myself spending hours and hours on a video. I just want to have a bit of fun, and but yes, if I was more into, marketing and trying to get on with the zeitgeist, I might try that. But it's like, what the hey? I have a day job, and YouTube's never going to pay more than that. I'm an IT contractor. For those who don't know, that is a fairly lucrative line of work. To make more money on YouTube, I'd have to be in the top 1% or beyond, because there's so many people on YouTube now. It's probably the top 1% of the top 1% who make any money on the site anymore. Hi, Charlie. How's it going? So, Justin, there's a YouTuber called Tycho Sam who's trying to join Raka Raka. How does that even work, joining an established YouTube channel? I don't know. See, again, I don't know what the kids are doing. I'm out of the loop. I don't understand these things. It's a mystery to me. It's simple as that. It's a mystery. I don't know how these things work. I don't have the patience to work these things out. So, kind of like every now and then there's a new app, there's a new social media thing, there's a new video thing. People say, you should get on that. I was like, I'm old and I don't want to learn anything new, okay? I don't put the effort I should into the social media I'm still maintaining. The idea of starting up something else and splintering my focus even more just seems like a super bad idea. I never went for Vine. You don't see me rushing off for TikTok. Even if some people would argue, that's a good idea and a thing that should be done. Just not for me. That's okay. So, although it's funny. Although I never even watched Vine videos really, but every now and then I see someone's done a compilation of Vine videos, and I'll watch them, and it is somewhat fascinating to see, because what were Vine videos? 7 seconds or 9 seconds? It was something really short. Vine videos were really, see, this is how much I didn't get into it. I don't even remember how long Vine videos were, but seeing some of those compilations and seeing how people managed to turn that into a narrative, being able to tell little stories, little jokes, little sketches in less than 10 seconds, to have a setup and a payoff in that short a period of time was quite fascinating. It was quite a skill to be able to do something in that amazingly contracted time things. Charlie, okay, Vine videos is an old personism. That's how the conversation started. I'm too old to be into Vine. YouTube videos? You're just saying they're Vines. Yeah, no, they're fucking videos. Yeah, Facebook videos, TikTok videos, and YouTube videos, and Vine videos. I don't care how old I am. Found out I'm working with someone and I'm older than his dad. So that was fun. Working with someone in a professional setting. It'd be one thing if I was working at McDonald's and they were teenagers and I was older than their dad. I'd do that. And this was an adult human in a professional setting and I'm older than their dad. That's a thing. I don't think I told him I was older than he just said something about his dad's age. He was about a year or two younger than me. And I was just like, yikes. So Periscope, that was Twitter's live thing, wasn't it? And they got killed by Instagram. That's another thing. I don't know if anyone even follows my Instagram. I don't have a lot of followers because I don't do much. I post pictures of street art and flowers and the occasional selfie on Instagram. And I know there's a whole bunch of, I'm just looking at my Instagram now. I know there's a whole bunch of people who do really complicated things with Instagram. I don't. I just occasionally post pictures. I just realized I haven't posted any for a couple of days and I've got some saved up. I should do that. I should post some pictures. Ashoka, have I thought about saving my head? I have a huge, weirdly shaped head. So the short answer is I'm not going to do it. Have I thought of it? Yes. I am also quite convinced head shaving would be quite poorly received by Mrs. Angry. I don't think she'd be on board with it at all. But yes, I have a huge and weirdly shaped head. So yeah. Safi, your mum's town has street art. It's a pretty widespread thing these days. What town is it that has the street art? Oh God, musically, do you actually work where there's a mother and daughter working in the same place and a father and son? That's weird. Family working in the same place is weird. It's actually possibly in the current workplace, there's a husband and wife because there's two people in the department who have the same last name and it's a relatively uncommon name. It would be a real coincidence if in a relatively small department, two people had the same surname and they weren't married or related. They might be brother and sister. I could believe they're brother and sister. I could believe they're married. I mean, I could believe it's a complete coincidence and they didn't know each other before working there. But I think the odds are against them having no association in such a small group of people. I'd wager they're either brother and sister or husband and wife. But I haven't asked because that just seems kind of rude and not actually my business as far as that goes. Xavier, Instagram bans porn stars. I know Instagram got more and more severe with punishing people who post revealing pictures. They don't ban people just for being porn stars. There's like limits on what you can put in the pictures, and then they'll ban you. But yeah, it's like Twitter is the last bastion for porn, and they have something in their terms of service that says they can ban people for porn. They don't, but it's in the terms of service that they can, which is a bit weird. Oh, weird. Justin, you have a friend who works with his dad and he can't call him dad, has to call his dad by his first name. That's funny. That is funny. Ms. Fox, the Australian government's looking at age verification for gambling and porn sites. It's just the worst thing. Besides being a terrible invasion of privacy, it's a nightmare for identity theft, actually giving your identifying information to porn sites or to the government, for fuck's sake. It's just ridiculous. Sugar, I think most internet traffic's spam. If I do a search, how much internet is porn? According to one expert, only 42,000 of the million most trafficked sites online are sex-related content, which is about 4% of sites. Now, there's obviously, it's going to be impossible to say who it is. Wait, how old is this? 2016. Okay. Now, a conservative Christian site, surprisingly, says it's all porn everywhere. They're saying 30% of the internet is porn. But less ideological. Yeah, saying like, let's see. These people are saying only a third of men say they watch porn. Okay, yeah, well, the other two thirds are. And now this one is saying 13% of the internet's porn. They reckon that people at search engines say 10 to 15% of searches are porn. So somewhere between 4 and 15% of web traffic is porn. So depending who you believe, it's somewhere between 10% and 30%. But yeah, who knows? What's the old saying? 3 types of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. Safa, you're saying Russia bans porn sites. Russia's fairly totalitarian, though. Oh god, PBR, I don't even want to think about Trump and porn, actually. I don't want to know what he's into. I don't want to know how much he watches. The less I think about Trump and anything sexual, the happier I will be, quite honestly. That's just a soul-damaging topic to think about, honestly. Trump and anything sexual is just awful. Yeah, I can't think of anything that I want to think about less, honestly. It's thoroughly awful. Absolutely thoroughly awful thought. Yes, Safa, we know he's into Stormy Daniels, paid Stormy Daniels for dalliances. So yes, and it's also a safe bet that yes, he's into porn stars who are petite and blonde and remind him of his daughter Ivanka, because as pretty much everyone knows, Trump wants to bang his daughter, and he hasn't made a secret of it, and it's creepy and gross as hell. Ew. Yes, it is very disturbing. Justin, what's funnier, Trump or Brexit? As in tragic comedy, laugh or you'll cry. I don't know. Okay, Trump's latest one. He's going to ban vaping because supposedly some, I don't know, half a dozen people died because of it. And it's like, I'm sorry, there are 6 poorly understood deaths that people are claiming were caused by vaping, but they can't actually explain how. And in the time it took those 6 people to die, there would have been hundreds, thousands of gun deaths. And apparently you can just ban vaping, but can't even do mildly intelligent restrictions on guns in the US. It's fucking insane. How you feeling, Sela? How are you? Safa, is Melania older than Ivanka? Quite a bit, I think. Melania Trump age. She's 49. There you go. She's not even that young. I mean, 30 years younger than Trump, but Ivanka is 37. So she's 12 years younger than her mum. I bet she calls Melania mum. I bet that oh, God. How fucked up. Fucking Trump house. But Trump, we were saying, okay, Trump being funny. The banning vaping's not funny. But he was doing one of his standard old man suffering from ever advancing dementia speeches where he just cannot string sentences together. And he said, someone said, why are you banning vaping? He said, oh, the first lady was really emotional about it. She has a son and she's it's like, yeah, my wife has a son that she cares about. It's like at some point the penny drops, like, it's your son too. And she's going, oh, wow, my son too. And then someone said, and you've got two other sons, Heckle and Jekyll. I mean, none of this happened. To me, it's just funny to imagine Trump literally forgetting his familial relationships because of his fucking advancing dementia. As well. Dave, you're vaping. See, I'm of the opinion that people taking up vaping to stop smoking cigarettes is good, but vaping being marketed to kids and kids who don't smoke taking up smoking. Sorry, kids who don't smoke taking up vaping is very bad and should be discouraged. Ashoka, you're really on the Yang train, aren't you? You're saying he's 5th place out of the original 24. Well, okay. My first point would be that these surveys are borderline useless. I'm just looking up latest polls. CNN's latest polls on 22. Yeah, they're still putting Biden in the front, but shrinking. Warren increasing. Sanders increasing. Then Harris, then Buttigieg, then Beto O'Rourke. Yeah, I don't know what poll you're talking about, but let's see. Enthusiastic. How enthusiastic are you about you voting for president? Oh, they asked them a bunch of weird questions. Not weird questions, good questions. Why did I say weird questions? I'm just trying to get to I don't want to think about complex topics. Show me. Okay. So, looking at this, got Biden on 24%, down from a high of 32% earlier this year. That same point, Warren was on 7% and she's now on 18%. Bernie Sanders seems like rock fucking solid between 15 and 20%, and he's absolutely rock solid, which I find fascinating. Then Harris, then Buttigieg, then O'Rourke, then Booker, then Gabbard, then Yang. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's just barely in the top 10. But you may well have another poll that puts Yang at 5th. But yeah, it's not very real yet. So for his Biden races, well, Biden has certainly voted for a lot of racially biased legislation in his career. Biden is a shit candidate. Biden is fucking terrible. Nobody is going to be enthused to vote for Biden. In my humble opinion, which stands every chance of being completely wrong, I think the Democrats need a candidate that people are enthused to vote for. They had that with Obama. People were enthused to vote for him. And they did not have that with Clinton. There was not enough people who were enthused to vote for her. People are not going to be enthused to vote for Biden. They might get enthused to vote for Warren. A certain subset would be very enthused to vote for Sanders. I don't know about any of the others. PBR, will they screw over Sanders like they did in the last election? The Democratic establishment hate Bernie Sanders. But then again, the Republican establishment hated Donald Trump, but they couldn't stop him. Sanders has to play a very aggressive ground game. He can't work the same way an establishment Democrat does. He has to have a very aggressive ground game to win. I mean, you know, there's pictures of Warren and Sanders palling around. Would they be a power couple, or is that too left wing for the Democratic establishment? And would they fucking undermine them? I don't know. Warren is obviously a far more establishment candidate than Sanders. But who knows? Now, Warren said because there was that one guy who was running, and it seemed like his sole purpose was to make climate change a central thing that was being talked about. He was the climate change guy, and he's out as far as I know, but Sanders said she was basically taking up his policies. Warren said she was taking up his policies. Wishful thinking, misfoxification. You don't want them to vote for cult of personality. You want to vote about what is right over what feels right. I don't know that works anywhere in the world, but it certainly doesn't work. It certainly doesn't work in America. But all right, so I'll look up Real Clear Politics Democrat polls. RealClearPolitics.com. Oh, okay. Now, okay. Here's a few amalgamated ones. 1919. Jesus, there's such a spread. Okay, the spread on Biden is between 22 and 33%. That's a huge divergence. Whereas Sanders is so solid across, like, his range from 16 to 21. He seems to have this really solid base. Warren, wow, is as low as 11 in Reuters and as high as 26 in The Economist. There's a few in between. That's really divergent. Harris is 4 to 8%. Buttigieg is 4 to 6%. Yang is 2-3%. Oh, up to 5% in one of the polls. So in this, it aggregated in this will cheer you up, Ashoka. Aggregated, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yang sixths aggregated across half a dozen things. So which is not bad at all. Yeah, it's interesting. There's 3 clear front runners now: Biden, Sanders, and Warren. They are a long way clear of anyone else. Now, at this point, that's not conclusive. Anything could happen, but it is interesting. Those 3 are so far clear of it. Yeah, I agree, musical elevator. Harris is a fucking cop. Don't want her getting in. Justin, which US presidential candidate would pick to be Australian PM? None. I think the presidential system is shit. Yeah, I mean, I probably lean towards Warren more than the others. There's just something about Sanders that I'm just not on board with. See, and this is the thing. It's, this is personality. This is why I'm being as guilty of it as anyone. I think Sanders would be interesting, but I'm just sort of not his guy. So, is the US the only country that has an electoral college? Yeah, I don't know how to define that and how to answer. There's different countries have different things that's like the electoral college. For instance, in Australia, MPs in country areas will get elected with far fewer votes than MPs in city areas. But the geographical area that a country MP covers is far larger, like just hugely larger than the geographical area a city MP covers. So I actually do believe there has to be some degree of balancing between the more sparsely populated rural areas and the more densely populated urban areas. If you said, every electorate had to have the same number of voters, that is just literally telling country people, you will never have a voice ever. Your life will always be dictated by people in cities who have no understanding of your life and what you do. I don't think that's fair. And this is me, inner city, trendy, lefty, look out. But the idea that all electorates should have exactly the same number of voters in them is a really shitty idea. Now, the American Electoral College seems to carry that idea way too far. I mean, seriously, the American system is just fucking broken. The American system is just shit. It's corrupt. It's abused. I mean, seriously, there's so much about the US. It's a failed state. If it was anywhere but the United States, a country as fucked up as the United States, if it was anywhere but the United States, you would have UN peacekeepers going in to try and fucking salvage things, because the US is just a fucking disaster area. It's corrupt, it's despotic, it's ravaged by crime. The gun violence is out of control. It's just a shit show, basically. And if things were that bad in any country apart from the States, you'd have people in the States saying like, oh, we should go in and do an intervention. That's a failed state right there. Yes, Miss Foxification. Yes, you and I are old enough that the saying, only in America. It used to be, at least it was light-hearted. Only in America was light-hearted. It was like, oh, look at that. A cat got elected mayor of a city, only in America. Look, they ate the world's biggest taco at this barbecue, only in America. Now it's like, oh, a bunch of toddlers got shot down while they were at school, only in America. It's not the same. It's absolutely not the same. But yeah. PBA, how would Pauline Hanson go as an American poly? I think she'd probably go well in the South in the US. She'd make more money just like going on Fox News rather than going into politics. Justin, I don't really agree with what you're saying there. Or I don't think that what you're saying is completely valid. You're saying like the party with the majority of seats picks PM even if that party doesn't win the popular vote. This is what I'm saying. The popular vote is an overrated concept. If you just went exactly as I was saying, if you went and said every electorate should have the same number of voters in it, the overall result should be decided by the overall popular vote. You are telling people in the less populous areas you will never have a voice. Your vote will never count for shit. And that is blatantly unfair. And it's also a recipe for considerable unrest and dysfunction. Hi, David. Yeah, friend whose wife's American, and she says our healthcare system is preferable and civilized. The American healthcare system looks after, or can look after, rich people very well. You get those very well-funded hospitals that do very cutting-edge medicine, but you know, that's only for a tiny fringe of the population. In general, that the American healthcare systems is one of the things that I think is insane. Like if I look up US bankruptcies from medical bills, it auto completes on Google searches. 2/3 of people who file for bankruptcy in the US do it because of medical bills. It's like in Australia, that's basically 0%. It's probably a slightly higher than that. So they're saying like 500,000 American families a year have to go for bankruptcy protection because of medical bills. That's just a broken system. That is fucked. That's criminal. That's a failed state. A country that destroys people's lives because they're sick is a failed state. It's fucking pathetic. And the amount of doublethink that goes on in the US absolutely does my head in. So like I was saying before about banning vaping because of a couple of deaths and people convincing themselves that's a good idea, but you know, banning any sort of gun even after thousands of deaths is not something that's workable. It's from the outside, you just look at it and go, it's governed by insanity. Nothing about it makes sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. Just now, is the US not a third world country? They've got nukes. And that's a big one. They absolutely have nukes, and they maintain them really poorly, which is very. That's another fun thing that you can scare yourself with. Start looking up scandals about how poorly maintained and how poorly protected the US nuclear arsenal is. There are absolute nightmare stories of absolutely shithouse security at installations where they have nuclear weapons. It's just like, what the fuck? I listened to a podcast series recently, and I have mentioned it before, called It Could Happen Here, where a journalist ponders the possibility of another American Civil War. And he makes it terrifyingly plausible. And yeah, one of the 100 absolutely horrific things he brings up is America's nuclear arsenal and what happens to America's nuclear arsenal if society collapses, essentially. It really, really doesn't bear thinking about. So can the nukes implode or explode if in disrepair? I am not an expert at all. I think it would probably be a bigger problem that a poorly maintained nuke wouldn't fire when they wanted it to fire. My extremely limited understanding of nuclear weapons is there's one charge has to explode, like a conventional thing has to explode to actually detonate the nuclear warhead. And it's quite difficult for them to go off accidentally. I think it's probably a far bigger problem that they wouldn't fire properly when they wanted them to. Hi, Pugwash. How are you going? Talking about nuclear weapons. Yes. It's kind of weird, like my whole life I read about things. I grew up, everyone was, well, not everyone, a lot of people were quite paranoid about nuclear war, you know, for good reasons, with the tensions between the US and the USSR. It was a quite plausible fear that, you know, we were going to die in nuclear annihilation. Hasn't happened so far. It probably felt the worst in the 80s. Well, actually, no, second worst. The worst was, without doubt, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where things were this close to going off. That was probably the worst. And after the Cuban Missile Crisis, I kind of feel like the 80s might have been the most tense time. But we were all worried about that. But there's always been, you know, hippies worried about being poisoned by various things. But yeah, if you ever want to be depressed or worried, the number of things could. There's obvious stuff that we still could have a nuclear conflict. Climate change is obviously a terrifyingly real proposition for the complete collapse of society. But even the absolute randoms, like, there are a lot of scientists who work in the field of communicable diseases who have been paranoid for quite some time about a major pandemic of various possibilities breaking out and not being contained and killing people on a scale similar to like the Spanish flu near the end of World War II. So there's pandemics people worry about. There's just pollution in general, not even climate change, but just toxic levels of pollution killing people. And of course, the randomness of space objects. We could get hit by an asteroid. There could be an extreme solar flare that fries all the electronics on the planet. Imagine how fucked we would be if a significant percentage of the world's electronics fried. That would be a complete global societal collapse, fucking overnight. So, yes, we have these various swords of Damocles hanging over us. So it's yes, if you're feeling too cheerful, just look up, things that could kill us instantly. And there's so many of them. It's a bit of a downer, quite honestly. I don't know why I brought up. Why did I bring up something that's such a downer? I don't know. It's a mystery. Who knows? I guess a shake of the old dirty nukes. For those who don't know what dirty nukes are, that's not a nuclear bomb, but that's someone who has nuclear material, most likely to be nuclear waste, like from a reactor, and you use a conventional explosive to disperse it. So large explosive goes boom and causes a reasonable amount of damage, but what it does is disperse the radioactive material over a wide area and give everyone cancer. I just figure, like, yes, if you dropped depleted uranium from a plane, yes, you could make New York unlivable. There is an enormous amount of nuclear material that goes missing every year, which is a cheerful thought. I like that, Pugwash. That's thank you for bringing things back to a positive. Your wife recovered from a brain tumor. Bring it on. That is awesome. That's what I like. Bringing it back to the positive. We should do that. Back to the positive. I'm trying to think. Have I seen anything else this week that's positive? If I looked at the news or something, could I find something uplifting? It's I'm trying to remember things that caught my eye. Did anything catch my eye? No, again, not really good, but funny. The government in Australia, the government MP David Littleproud, who could be called the Minister for Natural Disasters, which seems to fit him in some, because we're having quite severe bushfires absurdly early, and it's obviously everyone's saying like climate change is creating the conditions for more bushfires and more severe bushfires, and previously unheard of numbers of bushfires and intensity of bushfires is our new normal now, and it's climate change. And this fucking muppet said like, oh, I don't know if it's climate change. I don't even know if climate change is real. And then people have pulled him up and said, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he's going, oh, no, I never said I didn't believe it was real. I believe in the science of climate change. And why did you say I don't know what causes it? He goes, oh, I was interrupted and couldn't finish my reply. It was an email. And it wasn't the last sentence of the email. It was the first sentence of the email. He sent email, I don't know if climate change is man-made. I'm about political outcomes where that's about having a cleaner environment or giving farmers and emergency services the right tools to adapt. I'm responsible for making sure we have the tools we need to adapt to a changing climate. So he's fucking moron. It's a bit of a laugh. It's a bit of a laugh, but it's also really depressing that there are just these vacuous fucking politicians. Did I find anything else This one made me laugh. The Bloomberg, the financial website in the US and their politics, they've said, I think this is meant to be a scare tactic. They're saying the richest could lose hundreds of billions under Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax. It's like, you mean everyone else would benefit to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars if you put a reasonable amount of tax on these people who've stolen all their fucking money? Oh, there you go. You're really in the good news, Pug Wash. You got Jim Beam £5 off in Tesco. Nice. You're surprised the Libs don't make fighting a fire work for the dole program. Well, in America, prisoners fight fires, which is absolutely surreal. They're like not paid. And I mean, most of them are happy to do it, feel like they're doing good. They do get training and they go fight fires. But because of these ridiculous rules, after fighting fires while they're prisoners, risking their lives and having that experience, they can't get a job with fire departments when they leave prison because they've got a prison record. It's so fucking stupid. Oh, I didn't hear details about that, Safa, the company that made all the money out of fentanyl going bankrupt. What, because they were fined $17 billion? Was that it? I mean, all those companies that made billions from the fucking opioid crisis in the US is absolutely mind-blowing that they could do that shit. Okay, here's another thing. It's fucking awful, but it made me laugh. It's one of those quite well-funded right-wing internet propaganda things run by this guy called Prager. He likes to call it PragerU, which is like suggesting they're a university and suggesting what they're doing is educational. And they're not a university and they're not educational. They're a propaganda thing, which is fine. You want to do propaganda, but this weaseling about it being educational. But he posted this Dennis Prager fuckwit posted this thing saying, if there's no God, murder isn't wrong. You may think it's wrong, but how do you know it's wrong? Without God, all morality is mere opinion. It's just like, how do you even challenge something that is so inherently stupid? Like, that's so mind-blowingly over the top stupid. Is what the fuck? I don't even know how to approach that. It's like, even if I don't just immediately mock you and say, your God isn't real. Say, well, which God's real? Because that person's interpretation of God, their version of God, they're a very small percentage of the world. There's a far bigger percentage of the world who believe in different versions of God. So I don't, it's just so stupid. It's so absolutely stupid. I can't wrap my head around it. Keiko, you think that Prager guy is making you think of murders that would be morally justifiable? I mean, it is such a dumb line of reasoning. I mean, it got, shot down by what's his name, the magician Penn Jillette years ago. And he said that exact thing. Like, I've had Christians say to me as an atheist, my belief in God and God's law is what stops me from murdering and raping people. What stops an atheist from raping and murdering people? And he goes, nothing. I rape and murder exactly how many people I want to. And that number's 0. I don't do it because it's not a thing I want to do. It's just like, it's gobsmacking when they say something that is absolutely mind-blowingly stupid. It's like, how am I supposed to address that? You've said something that starts off from an absolutely ridiculously stupid premise and then just gets more stupid as it goes along. Like, there's nothing I can latch onto and form a logical counter-argument to, because it's just this big gelatinous blob of stupid. And it's like, what the fuck? And even like, if you take him at his God thing being a real thing, and he's going, if you don't believe in God, your morality is just opinion. And it's just like, if you do believe in God, your morality is just opinion. And you've got all these people who believe in different gods. Even the Christians can't agree with each other. The Jewish people can't agree with each other. The Muslims can't agree with each other. The Buddhists can't agree with each other. You get all these splinters who have completely irreconcilable versions of their religious system. And it's just like, why do I even have to fucking listen to people who are that fucking stupid? Is you're right, Kagan? He thinks that's a deep and clever thing. He thinks that's deep and clever. And it's not. It's this absurd thing where people say super dumb shit and they think they're smart. You get those right-wing cockheads in America, whether it's fucking, oh my God, there's so many of them. Trying to single one or two of them out is really difficult. Like little Ben Shapiro or, oh my God, there is just so fucking many of them. And everything they say is so stupid. And it's just, what do you even, and like, it's not even just that I disagree with them. It's the points they make are so profoundly stupid that it's just gobsmacking. It's like, how did those noises come out of your head? Like, you get the morons saying like, oh, even if the sea levels rise, so what? If the coastal areas flood, the people who live there will just sell their houses and move. And it's like, who do you sell the houses to? It's just, they say things that are just so fundamentally stupid, and they expect to be, and they are treated as if they're worth taking seriously. It's like, this is just fucking stupid. What is this? You know what? It's the halfway mark. I've been considering making a cocktail for the second half. And I thought, okay, well, one is because I've got some coconut cream and some fresh lime juice because I got some limes and squozened them. So I have freshly squozened lime juice, and of course I have rum. So I could make, a very traditional coconut rum lime cocktail, which would be nice. But even just weird, I saw a thing in an email, a cocktail called the AIDzee, which must mean something because it's the name of a movie now. It's a Brad Pitt movie. That's why it caught my eye. Meaning of AIDzee. What does it actually mean? To the stars. Okay, there you go. Ad astra means to the stars. Per espera ad astra, through hardships to the stars. There you go. So Ad Astra is to the stars. That's why there's a science fiction movie called Ad Astra. But I saw there's a cocktail called an Ad Astra. Yes, exactly, Fox of 8. Put the lime in the coconut and drink it all up. Hey, Musical Avid, not only are your sins free because Jesus will forgive you, Jesus died for your sins. So if you don't sin lots, Jesus died for nothing. Yes, that's the great line that YouTube channel H Bomber Guy did when he was taking apart Ben Shapiro. He did it in such a funny way. He smashes through a wall with an axe. And sell it to who? Fucking Aquaman. Safa, where's Mimsy? That is a good question. So no one seems to have latched onto the Ad Astra. Everyone's the evocativeness of the lime and the coconut because of that song. So maybe I'll put the lime and the coconut and the rum. That seems like a good idea. Okay. Should I put anything else in? Lime, coconut? I don't think, don't want to overcomplicate it, really, do we? Lime and coconut and rum. The coconut's over here in the fridge. Well, and I'll get a spoon because it's pretty solid. All right, so I've put it in a Tupperware container. It was in a tin. Rum and lime juice. Oh, and I've even got a little slice of lime. I'll put it in the top. That'd be nice. There's no rum. There. McCracken. The Jack McCracken. Cocktail shaker. Lime. Do I want anything? Oh, I want a glass, don't I? I'll use this one, actually. My crystal head martini glass is pretty stylish. All right. Now, I think I'll use the ice cube from my fruit juice. Big old chunk of ice in there. All right. Now, we'll put some coconut. Probably want a filter. Okay. Yeah, this is quite solid, unsurprisingly, because it's been in the fridge. But I'll shake it up. It'll mix it. All right. Put the lime in the coconut and drink it all up. Okay, coconut cream by itself, I'm not that into. KK, you're absolutely right that the biblical Jesus would not get on with evangelical Christians. They do the opposite of what's in the bottle. Okay. Some Kraken rum. Safa, what's good alcohol to mix together? Oh, wow, Pugwash. You got the giant crystal head bottle. I just got the 700ml one. Do it. Make it a double because I deserve it. Rum. Safa, what's a good alcohol to mix together? Depends what you like and what you have. In fact, if you just have a few things, a good thing is to do an old internet search on the ingredients you have and add the word cocktail to the search, see what comes up. I mean, one of my favorite cocktails is a really simple one called a sidecar. That's brandy and Cointreau and lemon juice. Very simple. It's a very nice drink. You can vary the amount of the ingredients. Brandy or cognac, if you're feeling fancy, and just an orange liqueur, so Cointreau or triple sec. But you could use orange curacao and lemon juice, and it's nice. Keiko, it's 11 in the morning, but you're still tempted to have a drink. Yes, PBR, we're releasing the Kraken. I need to get my sieve to filter this. Just over here. Wait, I saw it. Where did it go? It was here. Okay, I'm going senile. I swear I saw it. That is weird. I'll just use my cocktail sifter. This Fox Sketching aloe vera drinks go well with coconut rum. I've not had that, so I don't know. I think aloe vera, lime, and rum. Yeah, that could work. All right, use my little filter into here. Oh, it's an interesting color. Because of the Kraken and the coconut made it go grey. Can I put that on there? It's a garnish. Does that look nice? A little bit of lime on the side. It's interesting. Lime's probably. I should put a little bit of sugar syrup in there. Lime's made it a bit tart. So I'll forgot my agave syrup. Just a little squeeze. Little squeeze of the agave syrup in there. It looks like Bailey's. Hello, Mimsy. What are you up to? Gonna come up and say hello? All right. Take 2 of the lime and the coconut. It does look like Bailey's. It is a very similar color to Bailey's. Hello, Mimsy. You can get a scratch? I'm going to sit on the high bit. See what this has done with it. Oh, yeah, it's better. It's not too sweet. Still got the tartness from the lime. It's just not. It was a little bit overpowering before. Less so now. It's quite good. So yeah, so it's like a tropical martini now. Very traditional. I mean, rum and coconut and lime. If you know, we've probably all heard the song "Put the lime into coconut and drink it all up." I maybe could have put less lime juice in. I put a full measure of lime in there. Maybe half a measure would have been enough. Definitely got to get around to, doing my YouTube cocktail channel at one point. Because one thing I'd like to do is make drinks with small variations and see if you can taste the difference. Like, have a particular drink with bitters and without bitters and see where are you going? She sat up there. Now she's gone off for a wander. Yeah, just little things like, oh, hey, Environmental Coffee House, popping in to say hi. You have to go on a drive today. Farouf. I can't go on a drive anywhere because I'm having my rum cocktail. Yum yum. Not that into tiki cocktails, actually. It's a very sort of popular subset of cocktails meant to evoke the South Pacific. And I think it was popularized by Americans. What are you doing, Mimsy? Honestly. And no, sorry, I have to do something. Hang on. What are you doing? I don't trust you. This. I feel like she was getting into the pantry, and I just don't trust her. Safa, is brandy strong alcohol? No, it's like 40%, and there's probably some variation. I've got brandy and cognac. Cognac for when I'm feeling fancy. That's cognac. Where's the brandy? Oh. So, what's it? Yeah, so the Hennessy Cognac's 40%. That's like the average for spirits and liqueurs is 40%. And yeah, brandy, this one's 37%. So around 40% is a very common alcohol content for, whiskey and vodka and gin and rum. What's this one? You get overproof rum, which is higher alcohol. What's the alcohol content on this one? Yeah, 40%. That's an empty bottle of Kraken. But some of the mixes that I have here are 20% or less. Things like vermouth, Lillet Blanc, creme de cacao, and a few others that you get that are mainly for flavor. They'll be only 20% or even less alcohol. They're rarely the main ingredient in a cocktail. They're usually an addition for flavor. It's like the central alcohol is often 40%, and a lot of cocktails have these mixes with them that are only 20% or even less than that. Of course, you do get the ones that go the other end of the spectrum. Gin, in particular, is notorious for having stronger versions. Like it's average 40%, but you do get 50% and higher alcohol content gin. Absinthe is, of course, notorious. I've got like an 80% alcohol absinthe there, and the same people make an 85% one. Absinthe tends to be between 50 and 70% alcohol. Yeah, Safi, you should only drink a small amount of spirits. So, like, a single measure of spirits is like a full glass of beer, a glass of wine. Gecko, on your way to day 2 of help desk. How's it going working on the help desk? That's always a challenge. So yes, this is why I don't do shots. You'll get foolish young people in particular who go, "Woo, gotta do shots." Good. No. Doing shots gets you shit-faced and sick without ever appreciating the alcohol in the first place. That's why I got into cocktails, because you can actually really appreciate the taste. This is why I've got so many different ones there, because they have different things, like some of the bitter ones like Punta Mez and what's the other one? Branca, Fernet Branca. Slightly obscure, like bitter Italian liqueurs. and I've got chartreuse, which is a slightly higher alcohol content one, but has a very interesting. Some alcohols taste a bit fruity, some are very herby, some just taste like jet fuel. I'm not really a connoisseur of drinking spirits or liqueurs straight. Some are better than others for that. It's whiskey in particular. Like, one of my favorite cocktails is a whiskey sour, which is a relatively simple one. The simplest version of it is just whiskey, whichever whiskey you like, whether you like bourbon, rye, Canadian whiskey, Scotch whiskey, whatever whiskey takes your fancy, with lemon juice and a little bit of sweetener like sugar syrup. I think it's only a real whiskey sour if it has egg white as well. Makes it nice and frothy. But I'm not like a whiskey drinker. You get those people who are serious whiskey drinkers, and they can tell the difference between these scotches that come from different parts of the island, and whether it's blended or single malt, and whether it's peaty or I can't taste that. Broadly, I do know bourbon's like sweeter than Scotch. Scotch is smokier. Rye whiskey, which is another American whiskey, which is apparently similar to Canadian whiskey, is less sweet than bourbon, but not as smoky as Scotch. And then Irish whiskey is a little bit different from Scotch whiskey as well. Look, I can taste that they're different, but it's like I'm not a connoisseur. I don't sit there going like, oh yes, I'm just going to sit back and have a whiskey now and travel to the Scottish Highlands. Like, nope, that ain't me. As I say, I do like it in cocktails. I saw one that sounded quite good, a Scotch cocktail. I forget what it was called, but I saw it and it had, what did it have? It had Scotch. I think it might have had Fernet Branca in it, and something. But it's. I might try that on the weekend. It sounded quite interesting. I like to. For me, a good cocktail has multiple flavors. If you get a shitty cocktail at a shitty bar, it's just going to taste like fruit juice or cordial or something. If they like a fruity cocktail, like, fine, if that's your thing, fine. I like stuff to have flavor and different flavors. A good cocktail, you get a couple different flavors. Stuff you think you should drink on a full stomach. I honestly think, I'm sure I've read that it doesn't make that big a difference. It does make a difference. It's how quickly your body starts to absorb the alcohol. Ultimately, the effect of alcohol is the same. My understanding is, on an empty stomach, your body starts to absorb the alcohol more quickly. The end result's the same, but it starts faster if you have an empty stomach. My number one thing that I learned the hard way is, kids, if you're going to drink a lot, don't have spaghetti for dinner. Because no matter how much you chewed it up, no matter how much you think you chewed it up, there's probably really long bits in your tummy. And if you drink too much and end up throwing up, it's really gross coming up because it's really long and gets stuck in your throat. It's awful. I've done that once in my life, and it was awful. Getting too drunk and throwing up when I'd eaten spaghetti for dinner, and it was super gross. No stars, do not recommend. Generally, I don't recommend drinking to the point of getting sick. Talk to you later, Gecko. I'm going to get a lift ride. And I hope the help desk continues to treat you well. But yeah, just don't drink too. I know. Look, I probably only half a dozen times in my life I've really drunk to excess. I think it's only about 3 times I've thrown up. Try and count them. 1, 2. I'm counting them through. Yeah, honestly, in my entire life, I've probably only thrown up. I can only think of 3 distinct times that I threw up. Might be more than that, but I can't even think. Dotty, it's an image you won't get rid of. It's a pretty strong image, isn't it? But it's advice you need to take to heart. Don't eat spaghetti for dinner if you're going to drink a lot, because you will regret it. So if it Aussies outdrink US people. I don't really go in for that sort of thing. I think it's quite childish. And no, we can drink more than you. But yeah, Australians do drink more alcohol than you. And I think Australians maybe drink more spirits than American people as well. Not something to be proud of, though. I don't like making a big thing about it. Who's the hardest drinkers in the world? It's not really something to be proud of, quite honestly. Your ability to consume dangerous levels of alcohol is not a good thing. Not at all. Doesn't mean that you don't get funny stories out of it, but I can't, in good conscience, recommend it because it's not good. Maybe I should. I know what I'll do. What I was saying before about the whiskies. I'll do a little whiskey taste. Okay, I have to clean up my. Yes, Toddy, we are a spiritual people. Musical aviator. Russians do have a terrible reputation for excessive drinking. Hard earned, I think. They have a very serious problem with alcoholism. Right, I got to clear up my little area a bit and move a few things away. Here's my rocket shot glass. Little rocket-shaped shot glass. All right, I'm going to put these things back that I had here. Put back my cognac and brandy. Where's the brandy? It was in there. My rum. Put the rum back. All right. This. All right, I'm going to do a little experiment. Is that one right? All right, a little bit of rye whiskey left. All right. I'm going to do a little taster. Proving that I'm not a connoisseur. I'm only going to have a sip of each of these and try and explain how and if they taste different with my can you see? It's my little rocket ship shot glass. It's pretty cute. A little porthole, little rocket fins. It's quite cute. It's got 4 of them and they stack up. They're really neat. Right. Trying to think what order. Maybe I should drink them in order of intensity. And I think bourbon might have the least intensity. Safi, you're a Russian Australian. Does that mean you have a super drinking problem? Yes. Yes, it does. All right, so just a sip of the bourbon. This is not enough to get drunk, by the way. I'm seriously just going to have a sip of each of them and try and explain if I can get a difference in taste. So bourbon. There is a little bit of the sweetness, and you do get sweetened bourbons. So is it? Yeah, and that's this is Jim Beam. That's not an upmarket bourbon. An upmarket bourbon would probably be even smoother, but I mean that's not bad. I don't know the words to describe because I'm not like a winemaker, spirit wanker. Yeah, it's really warm going down these things. All right, now see if I can get a difference. This is rye whiskey, an American rye. And my understanding is that's meant to be less sweet than bourbon. So just a tiny bit. I was really serious about it. I'd rinse the glass out between sips. All right, so smells about the same. It tastes quite similar to the bourbon. It's got a bit of a sharper edge to it. I know a lot of bartenders prefer to make a whiskey sour with rye whiskey as opposed to bourbon. I think it's actually relatively uncommon for a bar to make a whiskey sour with Scotch whiskey. I mean, some do, and you could ask for it to be made with Scotch whiskey. It's more common for it to be made with a bourbon, and I know some bartenders prefer to make it with a rye whiskey. That's definite. That's definitely got a sharper taste than the bourbon. You can sort of tell that they made something. I mean, okay. So like rye whiskey, the grain that's the base of it is literally rye. And what's bourbon made with? I think it's made with a different grain, basically. I'm going to try Scottish whiskey, with Irish whiskey. A little sip of Irish whiskey. See if it's different. Okay. Smells very different. Kind of smells cleaner. I don't know. Yeah. See, I don't have the right words to describe it, but it definitely tastes different to the rye and the bourbon. You could tell bourbon and rye are related. Although, yeah, the bourbon's sweeter than the rye. I think the Irish whiskey has like a lighter taste than the American whiskeys do. Okay, last comparison. Have a tiny sip of Scotch whiskey. Yeah, none of these are flash. I suppose the Bullet Rye is slightly flash, but I'm just like Jim Beam Bourbon, Jameson's Irish, and Johnny Walker. Well, it's Black Label though. It's from Costco. I think I got it from Costco. Yes, because it's a litre rather than 700 mils. The standard bottle shop size is 700 mils. Get bigger things from Costco. So like a litre of the Jamesons, a litre of Johnny Walker, of 1.75 litres of Jim Beam. That's the serious one. And yes, the Bullet was just from a normal bottle shop, so it's 700 mils. But yes, the last one's Scotch. And it's definitely the strongest taste. Scotch is definitely a burnier, and it's definitely got the smoky stuff that it does not so much in the rye or even the Irish whiskey. And because I've made whiskey sours with these different ones, and it's really noticeable if you make one with Scotch whiskey. It's much smokier. Oh, I can still taste this. This really has lingering smoke taste. Yeah, no, Scotch has a really distinctively different taste to the others. Wowzers, the smoke is just hanging around. So I've really missed the whiskeys. Do you get the whiskey babies? Maybe. It's yeah. Apparently, that's a good way to become an alcoholic. Consider yourself like a whiskey aficionado. I remember reading this article, a guy, and he was like, he had quite a high-profile corporate job, and for one reason and another, he started sinking into alcoholism. He was drinking like lots of beer, and but if you drink lots of beer, you put on a lot of weight. There's a lot of sugar in it, and you also get really bloated because you drink significant volumes of it. And he was like, "Oh God, this is fucking me up." Oh, and he somehow got into his head if he started drinking Scotch, he got into Scotch. He wouldn't fuck himself up as much because he wouldn't drink as much. You'd drink a smaller amount volume wise, and you'd be drunk and you're not all bloated and putting on the weight. But he said that like took the handbrake off his alcoholism because he would drink like an entire bottle of Johnny Walker in a night because he could, because that volume of beer only gets you drunk. That volume of Scotch gets you blackout drunk, which was, what he was, even though it took him ages to admit it, it was what he was trying to do. And it was really quite fascinating to read because, he became a whiskey connoisseur, and he'd calmly tell people, "Oh yes, this one is a little bit," and around people, just have a drinking, yes, and he'd sniff it and swash it around. And at home, he'd knock off a whole bottle by himself every night, and it was just like, it's so fucking dangerous to get into it. So is red wine healthy? Not as healthy as not drinking red wine, basically. Oh, PBR, that's terrible. What's the difference between an alcoholic and a drunk? Drunks don't have to go to those dumb meetings. No, it's obvious. I mean, I'm obviously not shy about it, but I also it's the most dangerous drug. It does more damage to people's health, does more damage to society than any other drug, and it's bullshit that we con ourselves that it doesn't, because it's also very seductive. If you're ever feeling it all down, alcohol can definitely deaden feelings. It doesn't make the bad feelings go away, and ultimately makes them much worse, but it can temporarily deaden them. You can see why it's so seductive, and I think it's actually comparatively easy to get in. And yes, this is the rocket. I think that is the pun with these rocket-shaped shot glasses. Put rocket fuel in the rocket shot glasses. But I got them because they're so cute. Look at them. Look at them close. They're really cute with the little rocket fins and everything. And I've got 4 of them, and they're different colors, and they stack. They're really neat. But I hardly ever use them because I just don't drink shots, basically. I not even like necking it, but even just I don't sit there with like I said, like a serious whiskey drinker will sit there with their little snifter of whiskey. On a rare occasion, I might do that with a port, like just have a shot. I've got a couple of little glasses where you can have little respectable amount of port, which is a fortified wine, and just sit back and go. So it's not just country blokes who use alcohol as self-medication for mental and emotional health issues. But yes, it is. I grew up in the country, and it's notorious in the country that blokes don't ask for help. Blokes don't admit to weakness. Blokes don't admit they're feeling bad. And yeah, they use alcohol to hide how they're feeling. They hide how fucked up they are because it's regarded as a weakness to say, I'm feeling fucked up. That's why I did, because it's, it was worldwide. It was, Suicide Prevention Day or Suicide Awareness Day. In Australia, we have a thing we call the Are You OK Day. And I think it's important to tell people if I ever ask if you're okay, saying no is perfectly acceptable. I know there's a lot of people who struggle with mental health issues don't like Are You OK Day because they think it's a platitude. They think it's not helpful. And I kind of think, well, it's an attempt. An attempt was made, as the saying goes. There's an attempt to do something useful for someone. And so I don't want to be too negative about that. But if you're going to say, are you okay? You need to be prepared for the answer to be no. And most people are very poorly equipped to deal with someone if someone does actually open up and say, I'm not okay. And you do actually get some useful information, when they send out those workplace packs for Are You OK Day, the basics are, if someone's not okay, just listen. Just don't pass judgment. And so many people fall into you don't have anything to be depressed about. What are you? Your life's great. Or when someone says this is causing me problems. Oh, man, the worst thing you can say in the world. Man up, toughen up. It's just like, oh, what the fuck. No. If you're going to ask someone, if you're going to listen to someone, you have to listen without judgment. And you're not a health professional. I'm not a health professional, unless you're watching this and you are a health professional, in which case, good on you. But yeah, if you're not a health professional, you're not meant to cure someone. You can help someone just by listening, just by being non-judgmental, just by being there. I mean, like, one of the worst things I ever had to deal with in a workplace is a guy, and I often don't particularly like people I work with. This guy I quite liked. We got on quite well. And he had a young wife, and he was a motorcycle rider, and he got her into riding motorcycles. And one weekend they were out motorcycle riding, and she lost control on a corner. I don't remember if she hit a car or if she just went off the road, but she was killed. And honestly, you could see where he would justifiably feel responsible for that, because she never would have got into riding motorcycles generally if it wasn't for him. And she wouldn't have been out riding that day specifically if it wasn't for him. So he's obviously going to feel super bad about it. Like, anyone's going to feel bad about it with their spouse or partner dying. But he could realistically feel some quite significant personal responsibility. And he was, of course, off work for a while. And he came back, and because everyone was all over him with the, oh, I'm so sorry. And I didn't know what to say. And I waited till people had fucked off, basically. And I just said, I just said to him, I literally have no idea what to say. I know for a fact nothing I say could make you feel better because it's ridiculous to assume there's anything I could say that would make you feel better. But I'd also feel bad if I didn't say anything. So all I'm going to say is I'm here if you want to talk, but you're not compelled to talk. I'm completely okay if you don't want to talk, but I'm just here. And he thanked me. He said that was probably the most useful thing anyone had said to him, just acknowledging that it was just fucked and there was nothing you could do about how fucked it was. But it's like, hey, you know what? I am here. So you don't need to talk to me. I'm not compelling you to talk to me. But if you want to talk to me, you can. And but I was I just thought, just be honest, because this situation's fucked. This is so fucked. I had no idea what to say. So I just said I have no idea what to say. But I'm also quite sure there's nothing that's right. I can't say the right thing because there's no right thing to say because this is all just fucked. So just listen, actually, is my big advice. Fox of Fate, I agree with you. With a corporation saying, "Are you okay?" You want to say to them that corporate greed's destroying the world and you are personally responsible for my crumbling mental health. But all you say is, "Yeah, no, I'm good, honestly," because they don't want to hear it. It's just like, when you say, like, what can we do to improve your mental health? Lower the workload, employ more people, give us, a bit more leave and whatnot. And they go, oh, fuck no. Why don't you do yoga? It's just like, yeah. Yes. I think it's a difficult one. Like, you do something, but I don't have a lot of faith in corporate masters, quite honestly. But that's so depressing. I need to finish on an up note. There must be something funny I've seen recently. I'm going to go. I don't want to finish on that fucking downer note. Find a funny meme or something to share. That was such a downer. Yes, I'm just kind of looking for good memes now. I won't find them on Facebook or Twitter. Maybe if I do a quick search on Imgur, I'll find something funny, and I'll share it, and we can go. Area 51, Volume 51. That's not funny. It's got that biker show pun. No, that's not funny. Rats with teddy bears is funny. Sorry, okay, this made me laugh. I don't know if this is true, but they're saying some Uber drivers in China changed their profile photos to creepy zombie-like faces so potential passengers would cancel the ride they'd booked, thus earning the driver the cancellation fee. That's funny, even if it's not true. A toilet with the serial number 4U2PN2, which is pretty good. All right, that's. I think that's the uppest note I can end on. Chinese Uber drivers using scary photos to earn cancellation fees. But I'm going to go with that. Look after yourself, one and all. I'm going to bid you a fond farewell. Thanks for hanging out. AIDzee disappeared into the ether. I'm assuming he lost consciousness because he's having a rough time of it lately. He is in a lot of pain. Hopefully, it's going to take him months to recover from all those fucking breaks. It's fucking extreme. Might hear from him on the weekend. Who knows? We'll wait and see what happens. But look after yourself, one and all. And I will say bye for now. Bye bye. I never know.